Hello and welcome back once again to the Single Malt Review. It isn't Halloween, we will admit that right away. I did not get on top of this one nearly fast enough, but it is a Halloween whiskey just in time for what's probably going to be Christmas. So, without admission over the way, we will get into what Glenrothes has put together for Halloween themselves. What do we got, Dave?
This is said to be a 13-year-old. It is bottled at 46.6%, oddly specific. And what's curious for me with this one is the casks. They are American oak, but they're not bourbon barrels. They have been instead seasoned with sherry. So, I'm looking forward to how that plays out. Tim has tried this one. I have not. With a nice seasonal, impenetrable black bottle there, with the bright orange labels. Can't see how much is left or what colour it is. We'll find out. Glenrothes, though, we've had some very good experiences with this distillery in the past. I'll keep my paws small, for this is not a big bottle and it is nearly exhausted.
I think we're just at the last wee sprinkle there. I'll have the last few drabbies left.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, truly scary is the wood they've used, and spookier even than that is how common a practice that is becoming. Because what is this one aged in, Dave?
Yeah, of the way they describe it, in their words precisely, 100% first fill American oak sherry seasoned casks. So presumably not bourbon barrels, American oak, but not for full sherry casks either. That wording is quite particular, seasoned with sherry.
That you could take that to mean different things. I think, because to look at it really suspiciously, you could think, well, did they just sort of rinse these with sherry in order to sort of treat them and make them behave at least a little bit like normal bourbon casks? I don't think they have. I think it has housed sherry
Then they actually been full on sherry.
Yeah,
casks.
I think seasoned is just the word they've decided to use.
Oh, yeah. But
the fact that they are American oak, the fact that they have sort of gone to Spain and come back again, that sounds pretty strange and alarming if you're into your American sherry wood maturation. But it's more and more common as the source of as the source of European oak sherry wood dwindles and dwindles and dwindles, because honestly, who buys sherry? Not us, and we're pretty well down the hole of the industry, and not even we drink it. So, yeah, sherry wood running out. So they're making ends meet where they can. However, I think it kind of works here, because this is a pretty cracking whiskey.
I'm going to assume not coloured or chill filtered.
No colours, no chill filtration, good natural Glenrothes, and it is, I think, really quite a good one.
Now, I'm going to mention these tasting notes are a little bit curious. They mention aromas of banana and vanilla, and flavour characters of, again, vanilla, banana skin, cedar, and ginger. So I'll be curious to see how this pans out. Certainly, it is quite banana-y.
Everything but banana skin, I can more or less detect.
Into like fresh banana, but also that synthetic banana ester flavour you get in sweets.
Yeah,
alike.
Maybe I just don't have enough bananas, or indeed banana skins. But
there's a nice bit of vanilla there, though.
I have trouble with
a little bit of citrus. It is an interesting melding of the American oak characters we're used to from bourbon matured whiskey, and also some of the fruitier aspects of the.
To relate it back to a very typical Glenrothes, which is a itself quite typically sherry matured style of whiskey. It's not exclusive. It's not like a Glenfarclas or a Glendronach, but it does lean very heavily towards that style of sherry maturation. This one is fairly light, both in colour and in its character, to your average run of the mill Glenrothes, but that's not to say it's not weighty. It's very, very rich kind of whiskey. We'll have a look at the palate.
That has quite a fiery prickle to it. It tastes much younger than 13.
It's got a real sort of youthful blast on it, but for me, what's really interesting is it's got a huge viscosity to it. This is a really sort of thick, syrupy almost.
There's a lot of
whiskey.
gooey oil clinging to the inside of the glass. Yeah. It may not show up on camera,
but
trust us.
It has really sucked a lot of sort of caramel sauciness out of that cask.
Yeah, the finish is kind of a slow, spicy burn, like a strong peppermint.
Yeah, again, it's lighter lighter in terms of its flavours, though not its body, to standard Glenrothes, but it's much more vibrant. It's a much bouncier whiskey than Glenrothes is normally going to be. We're being invaded by a cat here, but I hope she's going to go to sleep. So, yeah, if you're a Glenrothes purist, I suppose, and they are out there, I'm not sure whether you'd say this was... I would say this is an interesting direction for them to go. I think sort of vibrant, happening whiskies like this are always good to see.
Some good banoffee pie and ginger sweetness happening there.
See how it responds.
Try a little water and see what happens. There was just the faintest edge, a hint that there's going to be some slightly danker vegetable matter coming through later. The water may bring it out, it may not. Oh, yeah. That has softened things a bit, but driven them into a slightly tangier direction, a bit more savoury or umami.
Good
cutting through a
reason.
lot of that sweetness. A little touch of salt and seaweed even. Not in the peated or briny fashion, but...
No, there's a little bit more in there. This isn't going to work, is it, Sybil? Because you don't know how to bloody sit still. Oh! Okay, well, that out of it. Hopefully she's had her jollies now. I've entirely lost my place now.
The touch of marine.
Yes, indeed. The water has brought out a little bit of brininess there, and a lot of fruitiness. It's just much more clearly Speyside-y fruity now than it used to be, which is it's sort of the response you'd be looking for, putting water in an unchill filtered whiskey that would tend towards sort of a more of a syrupy note on the outset, but so behaving as you'd expect. Scores, we'll do scores for this one. I'm not sure. If it is still available, it will be diminishingly so, because they didn't make a great deal of this. It was a small batch. I'm not sure how many casks went into it. It was all 13 years old, so it was all the same sort of... the same flight of casks there.
2,202 bottles
there we
on
are.
that label.
So not a mega huge run. I mean, better than a single cask. So you might find it floating around somewhere. Hopefully not on eBay or something, being sat on or sort of scalped for more money than it should be. But if you do see it and you are a fan of Glenrothes and want to try something that's just a wee bit different from what they normally do, then this is, I think, a good recommendation. As a whiskey purely on its own terms, it's very, very generous. It's very, very... it's vibrant without being immature. As Dave said, it tastes pretty prickly, pretty fiery, and pretty young for its age. There's certainly more sedate 12 or 13-year-old whiskies around in that age bracket. There's probably much more sedate 10-year-old whiskies, really. But as long as you don't mind it having a bit of kick and a bit of sort of playfulness to it, I think it won't do you particularly wrong. Scores? That's a pretty easy 88 for me. That's a really sound whiskey. What do you think?
I'm going to go somewhat lower. Not because this is a bad whiskey, but because what it does is a little bit strange and a little bit outside various comfort zones. We mentioned that it's, despite being 13 years old, it's got some sort of youthful immaturities to it. It's got a sort of little bit of a clash of the different kind of Speyside characters. The sort of the odd extremes that you get from sherry maturation and bourbon cask maturation, thanks to the American oak. So you've got the odd mixture of some sweet, fruity pie flavours with some stewed fruit and other sort of sherry influences. So it's good having those there. It is a nice juxtaposition. It's a real experiment, which I'm fine with.
So you think maybe if I'm channeling this, you think maybe the nature of the spirit is somewhat at odds with the nature of the wood character?
It's just the different elements the wood has brought to the fore don't really harmonise that well. They're sort of at odds with each other. There's sort of internal discord going on there. So it is good whiskey, but I'm just not super enjoying the flavours, but it still rates 79 from me.
Well, there you have it. Oh, and on Glenrothes generally, you will notice they have finally, and this was a long time coming if you ask me, they have rationalised their labels, their bottles. They now have a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 21-year-old, and so on and so on, as they probably should have all along. They have finally dispensed with the jolly vintage thing, which meant you had to go and calculate how old the damn bottle was by finding when it was bottled and sort of working it all out. Which who has time for that ultimately? And to imply that this was a goodness, 1996, that was a great year for distilling. Oh, nonsense.
So what was it tried before? Like vintage 1997 or something?
Oh,
We had a tiny bottle
something
of
we
it?
did. We tried it. I mean, it was perfectly lovely, but it senseless way, I think, to bottle your whiskey. So now we just have to wait for Bulblair to catch up, and we will be free of the practice entirely. So we will herald that day when it comes. In the meantime, stay safe as always. Slanger, this has been the Single Malt Review. I feel at least 60% awake now, so the next one should be much more lively from myself. We will see. Anyway, come back then.